Hello everyone and welcome to Geopolitical Trends. My name is David Wallalu. So good to be with you as always. As a geopolitical analyst, I ask, why is Washington publicly confirming its support for Manila, Philippines that is, in countering Beijing's moves in South China Sea? In this video, I'm going to provide you my brief analysis as to what to expect from Philippines given its recent vague and ambiguous foreign policies under the leadership of Marcos Jr. Let's dive into this fascinating development here. So the State Department, the US State Department that is, said in a tweet that it stands by Philippines in the face of a dangerous Chinese move in the South China Sea. As Manila, which is like it's almost taking about face, Manila accused the Chinese Coast Guards of firing water cannon at its boats. So, a Philippine Coast Guard statements on Sunday strongly condemned, and I put this in quote, the dangerous Chinese Coast Guard maneuvers and the illegal use of water cannon against Philippines Coast Guard's boats, end of quote. Well, of course, just to put this in perspective for you from a geographical perspective, the incidents occurred a few days ago when Philippines Coast Guard boats escorted ships carrying supplies for Filipino soldiers stationed in the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea. Interesting development. So China, of course, as we all know, claims a full sovereignty over the sea, which is a trade corridor for trillions of dollars worth of goods on a yearly basis, that is. And this, of course, there are other claims by other countries, or rival claims, that is, from other countries like Brunei, like Malaysia, of course, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. Interesting enough is that China has reached some agreements with other countries. They resolved the disputes in a friendly manner. Philippines seems to be taking the reverse approach, which I found very interesting. So, yes, there were some arguments as to why China ignored the 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court of the International Arbitrations of The Hague. But do we trust the International Court in The Hague to do the right thing anyway? I mean, I'll let you be the judge of that. So we can't deny that there is discontent and there are tensions rather and discord regarding what's going on in the South China Sea. I mean, we provoke it sometimes by sending our naval assets in a provocation way against China. So I find it interesting that Philippines doesn't say a word about it. Well, China is also expanding its presence and influence in all areas in the South China Sea. I can see the rationale for why China doing this, because they want to secure access to the maritime routes, because energy, as I always say, for example, I'll give just a quick example for you guys. The Strait of Malacca, it's considered a choking point for China. So they have to secure it. So this is why China is increasing its presence and influence in all areas of the South China Sea, including the water opposites and near the Philippines territory. So to that end, it's kind of, we're seeing almost tit for tat. And yet, this was an issue a few months ago. Philippines was able to sort of sit down and have a conversation with the Chinese. Things have changed after the visit of Marcos, I think, to the White House a few months ago. So the Philippines, this is according to the Manila or Philippines government, that is, believes that China wants to dominate all of the waters in the South China Sea. I don't know about that. So without granting any rights to others. Well, if it is the case, how come China reached an agreement with Indonesia? How come China reached an agreement with Singapore or Indonesia for that matter? Or Malaysia, that is. So interesting how Philippines, I think, and again, I could be wrong, but this is my opinion. I think Marcos Jr. is trying to play both sides. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work, so. So here's the thing. Because of the unresolved dispute that is between the two nations, Philippines and China, fishing vessels and Philippines Coast Guard vessels are constantly harassed by the Chinese military vessels deployed in the region. That's their claim for that. So, in contrast, here's the idea. You have to put this in from both sides of the argument. In contrast to the strained relations with China, the Philippines' relations with the US have returned to warmth and strategy under the leadership of President Marcos Jr. Well, I won't call it leadership. It's a weakness. It's the incompetency. He's incompetent. He couldn't take stand. Philippines is, ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Philippines is the weak link there. It's no different than India in BRICS. That's how I see it. So Marcos Jr. is trying to play both sides. And of course, like I said earlier, he made a historic visit to Washington, D.C. Last May. It was in May. Well, of course, he had to ensure access to his assets that's been frozen for a while in the United States. Some analysts from some other Western capitals like in Paris, Brussels, London, Frankfurt, and so forth, argue that, or even in Washington, argue that, like Albo, the Prime Minister of Australia, Marcos, which I agree with some of them on this, because there are some who are in the West but still speaking the truth. That's the reality of it. So some have argued that, and I'm one of those analysts that argue that, like Albo, the Prime Minister of Australia, Marcos has sold his country, given how Filipinos now are disappointed at him. No different than what Aussies, how they are disappointed at the Prime Minister Albo. Incompetent. It's no different than the Germans, sort of disappointed at the weak Chancellor Olaf Scholz. And of course, in Britain, they are disappointed with the incompetent Prime Minister Sunak. Which, by the way, Sunak now is reaching out to China for help, as the economy of UK is sinking down further. So President Marcos, of course, sought the assurances that the United States will support him in an open confrontation with China. Yeah, good luck with that. Sad to say about my country. If you can trust the US government, not the people, American people are good people. I'm an example of it. You can have my word if I give you my word on something. If I am to do it, I'll say I will do it. If I don't, I'll say I won't do it. So at least you know what to expect with me as a citizen. Some Americans, majority of us are, but it's the damn government. Can't trust the government. So if the government is saying to Philippines, we will support you, yeah, good luck with that. It's the same case in Taiwan. Some Taiwanese are living in some parallel world, or universe that is. We're not going to come to the aid of Taiwan if things go south. Look no further than Ukraine right now. So the White House has declared that America's commitment to defending the Philippines is, and I put this in quote, unwavering. Yeah, once again, good luck. Are you going to trust the White House right now with the Democrats there, or the Republican for that matter? No, you shouldn't. So, and of course, we all know how the U.S. policies have been provoking China, and China responded by accusing the U.S. of threatening regional peace and stability. Following the signing, here is where it gets very dicey. That was following the signing of a new agreements between the Philippines and the United States, which were just signed in April. And by which Philippines will allow the U.S. to use 4 additional military bases in Philippines. I found out there's more than 4. And this is where it's very, very, very problematic for the Philippines moving forward. So Chinese Foreign Ministry, of course, spokeswoman Mao Ning said that out of the individual interests, the U.S. continues to strengthen its military deployment in the region, stressing that the result will inevitably be increased military tension and a threat to regional peace and stability, end of quote. So as you may know, and I'll be happy to further elaborate on this in a live stream, because I know a lot of information about it, because I'm in the process of writing a book about China, and I have to know about what's going on in the region. And this is part of my academic background, so I have that information if you would like me to elaborate on this. So Washington and Manila, both of them are decade-old allies. I will call it allies, but they're not. Basically, Philippines is subservient to the U.S. We're just using the formality of the wording here to sound like, oh, we are allies. No, we're not. We are telling Philippines what to do and not to do. So they work under our authority. It's no different than Australia. It's no different than South Korea. It's no different than Japan. Straightforward. So, as the argument said here from the White House, that Washington and Manila are old allies linked by a defense treaty, which is true. They are linked by defense treaty that was concluded or signed in 2014. And it was known as what's so-called, I'm putting in quote, enhanced defense cooperation agreements. I'm familiar with it. So basically, these agreements, which allow the United States forces to use 5 bases, Filipino bases, that is, to store military equipment and material in them. When say material, they didn't disclose what type of material. We could also be talking about a nuclear weapon also, and Philippines won't even know it. And the number of these bases are raised to 9 bases as of February. But without specifying the locations of the 4 other bases. So you all can see. That's what prompted me to come and do this video for you, because I'm gonna keep it short, concise, to the point. And if you'd like me to further elaborate, I'd be happy to do it in a live stream. So make sure to leave me some comments, because I like to read your feedback as always. And please, if you like the content of this video, hit the like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, bye-bye.